Yeah, can't wait for another one of my favorite movies to get ruined.
Oh God, one of your favorite movies. Okay. Hello and welcome to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, the show where two former roommates talk about a new movie every week. This week on the show, we're talking about Avatar: The Way of Water.
Dad, I know you think I'm crazy,
Have to mind those big rocks.
but I feel her. I hear her heartbeat. She's so close.
So what does her heartbeat sound like?
Mighty.
As always, I'm your host, Corbin Zavocal, and joining me is my co-host, Cody Webb. Cody, how are we doing? You ready to talk about Avatar, back-to-back Avatar
Yeah.
movie picks here?
Oh, I'm pumped. I think it's gonna be a great episode. The first Avatar, I think it was an okay flick to talk about, but I think this episode's definitely gonna be a little bit more interesting at least. And we brought along one of my favorite guests of all time. Had to bring him back. I'll just go ahead and introduce him out right here. My boy Aidan Cotter, he's back. We ruined Interstellar for him last time, and but yeah, how you doing, man? Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you guys brought me back. You did ruin Interstellar for me, but it was a good ruin. I'm always glad to get educated about things I don't know a whole lot about. But I'm came prepared this time. I'm ready to brought some facts for Avatar 2, and I'm ready. Glad to be back.
You've been doing some research, Aiden. Have you? You've been kind of getting into movies. What have you been watching recently?
Yeah, I had a little phase there. I've been a little busier, but over Christmas I had a lot of spare time, so I think I watched like 4 or 5 DiCaprio movies in like a day and a half. Just kind of sat on the couch, binged them all. So I'm getting there. I'm not on you guys' level yet, but I'm getting there.
We like it. We appreciate the effort. Cody, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I don't remember.
Well, we're glad to have Aiden as a guest for the episode today. We had a great guest for our last Avatar episode, so we had to bring in another good one.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
start with why did you
I
pick
remember
the
what I
movie?
was gonna say. I was gonna say. I just leave this all in. I was gonna say. I think we had multiple requests for people who were wanting to do this movie. But Aiden, he jumped on it early. Shout out to him. But I think this is a movie that a lot of people want to talk about. So yeah, should be a good episode, I think.
Sought after. The viewers are ready for the Avatar: The Way of the Water episode, so we hope to please them and satisfy all their needs, so that they don't have to go sit through the 3 hours of this movie. Let's talk why.
Why? 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 Why?
Aiden, why did you want to talk about Avatar?
So when I was a kid, saw the first Avatar in theaters. My dad is also a big sci-fi nerd, and I was 10 years old when that movie came out, and it was like one of the first good 3D movies as far as like 3D goes, and it was just mind blown. And then over the years, don't think I had seen it again until this last year. Did not age as well as in my 10-year-old brain, but it was still pumped to see the second one, and saw it on the second night. Came out like the 16th. I think I saw it on the 17th. Liked it a lot right off the bat. And then once, I saw a lot of negative reviews online, and it made me think. And then I was thinking, if there's anybody I need to talk through those reviews with, it's the two guys that know more about movies than anyone. So I was very excited to hop on for this one.
And we are probably definitely more on the spectrum of the negative, but hey, this is the highest grossing movie of 2023, and this is this is the highest grossing movie of 2022, and it's a good way to get things going here in the early weeks of 2023 to talk about it. Let's move over to our initial thoughts.
Good morning, Vietnam!
First thing I want to talk about is just what was everyone's movie going experience like? How did you see it? Have you seen it a second time? I know Aiden, you might have watched a little bit today. So I just want to kind of hit everybody. Maybe we start with Cody. How did you experience The Way of Water?
Yeah, you start off with me. Also, just to point out, I think critically, I mean, the tomato meters got it pretty high. So I think we might be in the minuscule here. But anyway, yeah, I saw this movie like a couple weeks ago. I don't remember, but it was not, opening night or anything. I did see it in 3D, which I do enjoy. I feel like nowadays, I would never go and see a 3D movie other than like an Avatar project. So I appreciate that. Love wearing the glasses. One of the big perks, I would say. Other than that, I don't know. I think it's one of those you have to see in the theater. I've only seen it once as well. So maybe on rewatch, I would get a little bit different experience. But the thing is, I don't want to like watch it on my laptop or anything. Like if I'm going to go see it, I feel like in the theater is a must.
Who would watch it on a laptop?
Yeah, yeah. So I also saw it in 3D. And like Cody said, like that's definitely the optimal way to see this type of movie, right? I didn't watch the whole thing today, but I somehow, some way I saw it online. I don't know how that was possible, but a bootlegged version of Avatar 2, believe it or not, does not hold up as far as visually to seeing it in 3D, believe it or not. So I kind of skipped through and just like rewatched some of the bigger scenes, just like refresh my memory. But definitely in theaters, like you said, Corbin, this is the type of movie where it's meant to be experienced in 3D. It's meant to be experienced in person in an actual theater.
Just curious too. Where did you like pirate off of? I need new website tips.
We'll talk off mic.
I just wanted you to incriminate yourself. But...
We're wearing a wire. Are you mic'd, Cody, at the current time?
Yeah, I do have a mic. But
Oh, well.
I'm not a cop.
Don't say anything. Don't trust him.
Oh, I just saw The Departed. I know how this goes.
You know about those rats. For me, I did see this movie a little late, like Cody. I think I saw it before Cody, but still, it was after Christmas just because of traveling and family. I just didn't have the chance. It was normally I would never miss a movie like this opening weekend, but it was the holidays and I spent time with family rather than getting a chance to go to see the movie. When I did see it, I saw it in 4DX, which if you're not familiar with what that is, the seat is like kind of they're in like pods of 4 and they're free moving and they kind of rotate and shift a little bit as the movie's happening. There's also air that blows out from behind you as gunshots are fired, kind of whizzing past your ear or any other explosion. If someone gets shot with an arrow or a bullet, then you might get a little tap in the back to feel it. When somebody drowns, someone comes over and covers your mouth and suffocates you. That doesn't happen. But no, you do get splashed with water, which that part was able to be turned on and off. But I'll tell you what, the way of water, it was wet for me. I will tell you that. There was mist spraying in my face left and right. There's also some like strobe lights and such on the walls and some other environmental effects to just kind of make this whole experience 4D. It was probably a little much to see it the first time. I'd never done a movie experience like that. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, why not Avatar: The Way of Water? It kind of seems like the perfect one. I did go see it again on Monday of this week at the IMAX in Lincoln Square, the really big one. That was a much more like pure movie going experience. I was able to sit down and actually follow the plot a little bit closely rather than just like being immersed in whatever the fuck was happening around me. Definitely positives and negatives to both experiences, but I'm excited to talk about this movie all in all. It's definitely an interesting movie going experience, and it's an interesting, piece in the greater world of movies in 2022. When you compare it, there's really nothing quite like it. The first thing I want to talk about in my initial thoughts is this use of high frame rate filmmaking. Is this something I know I've talked to Cody about this, but Aidan, are you aware of this at all?
Yeah, so this is something like initially I had read a little bit about, but not enough where like I could really tell a huge difference, at least just to my eye. But I don't know about you guys.
Well, so there's an interesting thing is that like it's all dependent on where you go see it and like what screen. Some are not showing it in the high frame rate, so you may not have even like had seen it. It's hard to say. I think my second showing wasn't in high frame rate, but the first was, and I really hated it when it happened. To essentially explain this to the viewers, the people who haven't seen it, or maybe the people that didn't notice, movies like Gemini Man, which was shot in 120 frames, or Peter Jackson's
Hobbit.
Hobbit, Unexpected Journey, which I think was in 48 or 64.
It's like the barrels in the river, like that scene, I think.
Yeah. It's an uncommon thing done in modern movie making, but it has been done typically to mass dislike from the audience. But basically, these movies are at a higher frame rate because traditionally 24 frames is what we're used to seeing in regular filmmaking. This was established all the way back in the early days of film when it was a reel growing through and there was literal frames of film and there was 24 every second still frames creates a moving image. If you've seen the fucking Empire of Light trailer or the Fablemans this year, countless other movies about how movies are made, you'll get this whole speech about how 24 still images come together to make a moving picture. And oh my God, it's so beautiful, blah, 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 whatever. To the human eye, they're moving so fast that it essentially seems like motion is happening in front of you. They determined all the way back in the early times because of basically testing early movies, like way early film photography was like 16 frames a second. And that was just too jittery. They tried higher, but it didn't quite match up with the way that they were able to record sound at the time. So they decided to stick with 24. And it's really just became a constant in the industry and in filmmaking since, the early days, the 20s, the 30s. So 24 frames is the traditional. When it comes to some TV video stuff, 30 frames happens a lot, particularly like soap operas are shot in 30 frames. The difference is pretty imperceptible, but, just kind of gauge where it's at. Avatar: The Way of Water is 48 frames per second sometimes. So James Cameron's big belief that where Peter Jackson failed and where Ang Lee failed with their movies is that they use it for the entirety of the film. And James Cameron thinks that if you only use it in certain sequences when it's necessary, it'll be more successful and it'll kind of, it's another thing. It's like 3D. It's a tool the filmmaker has to enhance what the viewer is watching. Yes, most action is shot at 48 frames per second, but there'll be random dialogue scenes that are 48 frames and then it'll cut to a different angle and it'll be 24 frames. And for me, that's a little bit jarring, that switching back and forth. But and all the 48 frames can, be positive. It creates a smoother image when you're trying to track motion across the screen. Everything is a lot more crisp. If you watch a lot of like action videos or even the things we do for like sports, baseball, it's all 60 frames because moving things, you want to be able to see crispy, at 60 frames a second. But in a movie with CGI and with humans that you're trying to create something realistic, you kind of get into this uncanny valley of the fake CGI is more detailed. The fact that they aren't actually real people becomes more noticeable. People really complained about it in, the Gemini Man stuff and, like the way the hobbits looked in The Hobbit itself. So for me, I think the high rate filmmaking for the most part is unsuccessful in this. Obviously, you guys didn't really get to experience it the same way or didn't notice it as much, but it reminds me of video games that are 120 frame cutscenes or, the 60 frame video games you'll watch people playing on YouTube. It just is more video gamey than real filmic quality.
Well said off the bat there. And I do agree. I mean, the showing that I had, I don't believe it was in that, high res quality, but there were still a couple scenes where I was like, this doesn't look the best. I feel like it really is depending on what theater you're watching it in. And if you do go to one of those where they're doing that, like you said, Corbin, you were highly affected by it. I feel like your first viewing.
Yeah.
So a lot of other people probably experienced the same thing. But yeah, it's just a lot of it's kind of just like blue blurs all over the place at times. And there were a couple fights, especially at the end, where it did look like super video gamey to me, even though it wasn't in that, which is interesting in itself. So I feel like if it wasn't that, like it would look even worse. And I don't know, it's something like, CGI wise, I think James Cameron thinks it's kind of the future a little bit, which, delusional old man, he's getting up there. I don't know. I think somebody.
I mean, $1.9 billion says maybe it is the future, though. That's the thing, I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of things about this movie that don't live up to $1.9 billion, but we'll get to it. But yeah, I think eventually they will figure it out. I mean, what was it, like 20 years ago? Like animated crap, like Pixar, for example, like that was nothing. That first Toy Story, people were like, what the hell is this? Like, this is ugly as hell. And I mean, look at nowadays. So give it 20 years and I'm sure somebody will perfect it.
He is nothing if not an innovator.
Just straight away, I guess maybe getting more into the actual movie, it just looks great. Like similar to Kody, I don't know if my theater was showing it in that high resolution. Regardless, like I am just a sucker for like the sci-fi worlds. Like I think that's definitely the highlight of the movie. And you even from the like opening scene where they're just like panning over the skies of Pandora, right? They're showing them flying through just to like get you back into the world. Is just like I was like back 10 years old, hooked right away into the movie. And that just kept coming back to me was how good the world looked, like the oceans, especially when they're traveling to the water tribe for the first time, like their journey there. It just looks really good, even if, like you said, with the frame rates, especially in the end scene, like was a little hectic. But just like the world itself, I think is something that every Avatar movie, I'm assuming, is going to always stand out to me personally.
The most successful parts of the effects in this are everything natural. The background, the environment, like that stuff looks incredible. It looks real. It looks, and that's the thing that I guess has always appealed to people, you know, wanting to be in Pandora, wanting to be a part of the world. But when you get particularly like I said this about the first one, but like the mech suits and the ship sinking, like that shit, like that's when it starts to get a little bit wonky at points. But I do completely agree. Like the imagery of the natural world, James Cameron has found like the perfect way to get that.
First off, I mean, talking pacing wise, this is a pretty long movie. I believe it clocks in somewhere around like 3.5, somewhere around there.
It's 3:12, but you know, you go to a theater, you sit through 20 minutes of previews, you get your potentially your Nicole Kidman pre-roll if you're at an AMC. You know, there's a lot that goes into when you sit down and from time you get there to time you leave.
The trailer time always throws me off. But I believe I went to a 2:00 showing. It might have been a 1:30, and I came out and it was pitch black out. So I was like, "Oh, there goes my day." Yeah, I think this movie's a lot of fun. Spoiler alert: I do think that this movie's better than the original. Which is a pretty wild statement. I feel like the thing about it is that I really like. It's utterly ridiculous, but it knows it. Just like straight off the bat, they bring back Stephen Lang in the dumbest possible way, just to have him in the movie again, which I'm kind of fine for, because at least he's a fun villain, and you know what he's going to do. He's going to try and kill Jake Sully. So he has great intentions, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Ultimately, for me, this movie is super fun, and it does try at least to be heartfelt. Like the first one, I don't think it gave really any effort to like, delving into the characters that much. It's kind of just a man like rebelling against his culture kind of movie, which, it is what it is. But in this one, I mean, the writing, I don't know if it's better, but it's better effort. So I appreciate that effort. And overall, I'm just going to give this movie a C+, because I think it's right in that standard. But yeah.
Letting your rating out of the bag a little soon there, Kody. You hit on something interesting there, because the story is ridiculous. The plot, the things that happen are fucking insane. And we'll get into some specifics later, but we'll hit the Quaritch one, the Stephen Lang evil twin returning thing. Like that right there. That's a ridiculous story beat. But the writing is better. Like the way they connect the pieces, like in general, is better than the first one and makes more sense. There's a lot of story things I don't like, which causes me to like this movie less as a whole. But I do think that they foreshadow some things early on. They kind of build to a certain climax. There's some character choices that I don't really understand and nobody really grows. But in terms of writing, I do agree it is better. I shared an article with you two from the New York Times titled Avatar: The Way of the Restroom. Because this movie is fucking long and it's about water. So someone shout out Callie Holterman, the New York Times, for writing this article about how everybody had to pee during the Avatar: Way of the Water. Did you guys make it through the movie without a bathroom break?
I did.
And it was I went with my roommate to see it, and we went and saw when we went and saw the new Black Panther a month or so ago. I had to leave to go to the bathroom twice. And so this was a very big concern, but I prepared and I somehow made it through. But I will say the very first thing I did once the credits had ended and there was no end credit scene, I sprinted to the bathroom.
Yeah.
When you were no
period.
longer immersed by the weekend.
Well, that is very true. It took a second. I had to.
Once the weekend hit in my theater, everybody was hoofing it out straight to the bathroom, and I was definitely included. I didn't even stay for like any of the actor credits either. So I don't even know half the people who like were playing the Na'vi. So I was probably interested in that. But once the weekend hit, I was out, and I think everybody was behind me.
Should movies have intermissions? What do you think, guys?
Just don't make it 4 hours. I mean, that's my thing.
But there's been a lot of movies this year in particular. Babylon over 3 hours. Black Panther is like 240. Tar's like 240. Like there's a lot of movies that are 2.5 plus. Movies are getting kind of long. They've always been long for sure, but why not have a halfway through, let's all take a 5-minute break. They do it at Broadway shows. Let's have a little fun with movies. Go refill your popcorn, get another drink.
I have another thing I want to bring up. Basically, James Cameron, the story-wise as well, to just keep talking about that, he's kind of ripping off a lot of other franchises and himself.
I was going to say the himself thing, Cody.
I'm going to go on a little spiel here, so bear with me. So this movie, to me, is a combination of 3 things. First off, combination of Star Wars. So, I don't know, just me, when the humans first arrived at the planet, I got big-time Star Wars vibes. Kind of like the Empire, like descending out of the sky.
Yeah, that was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, when the gates open.
Spoiler alert.
There's like, this steam, and everybody's marching like they're stormtroopers and stuff. Like, that's cool, but it's ripping off The Force Awakens, I think, a little bit. And then also, it has a lot to do with Star Wars, because everyone in this damn universe has to be related. Can any of you guys tell me why Spider has to be Stephen Lang's son? Because that is the most annoying plot point, I think, in this movie. And yeah, it's literally just that family versus Jake Sully's family. That's the movie. There's really
Tale as old as time.
Yeah, well, I don't buy it, but yeah, I don't know. Also, like, there's a big like plot point that's left out, saying like, oh, who's Sigourney Weaver's dad? We had the same questions of who's Ray's dad. I don't know. It's kind of just like similarities. It's not passable. You're trying to be Star Wars, which is understandable, but you can't take like the exact same plot points from the first movie. So I don't know. It's tough. Anyway, the second franchise he rips off, it's the Fast and Furious. This movie, it's about family. That's the most important thing. James Cameron, I'll tell you what, man. He's like, how can I possibly make the most money? Rip off myself, rip off the Fast franchise, rip off Star Wars. That's got to be like top 5 of the box office all time. So it makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I hate that. And then lastly, I mean, it's an obvious Titanic reference, the boat going down. I think that one's super obvious. But I mean, the Abyss too, those torpedo kind of underwater crafts, I feel like are pretty similar to the ones there. And then this is the thing that I really dislike about this movie. It's the exact same plot as the first, minus the family stuff. Because, he's an outcast. They have to go into a new culture and fit in. That's bullshit. They're going to do that every fucking movie, and it's so annoying. I wrote this before this even came out, but I was like, oh, what are they going to do? Go live with the volcano people? And then there was a report coming out saying, oh, they're going to the fire tribe next or something stupid. So, yeah, I'm not excited for that, but I don't know. I think just because it's a sequel, you can go a different direction. You don't have to have the exact same plot. But yeah, basically it's just a big rip-off. That's my spiel.
Even the premise of why the humans are there is different, but it's the same. Because in the first movie, they're searching for unobtainium, right?
Yeah.
In this one, they're searching for whale sperm. Like, it's just a natural, like, it's just the same thing.
Fountain of youth whale sperm.
Is it sperm?
Exactly.
I missed that.
No,
it's like their brain juice.
Yeah, it's okay.
But
it's like
brain juice.
Like, we have Jake Sully defending the native people who are being invaded for their natural resources just all over again. Exactly what you said. But I think what you touched on where the difference is the family, and like it is funny, and it does draw some similarities. I hadn't thought of the Fast and Furious thing, but that's pretty funny. I think that's where I actually like this better than the first movie, because I think the family aspects and the characters related to the family was the one part that, like, at least there was something there compared to the first movie. Like, that was the one thing, the one difference where I was like, okay, this is actually tying me in, and that's the reason why I wasn't just snoozing for the entire movie, because you knew what was going to happen because it's the same movie as the first one.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's like the writers actually trying, which again I'm a C+ forever. But yeah, I do like this better than the first one, so I agree.
Let's move on to roll credits.
Roll credits.
Yeah.
Avatar: The Way of Water. Obviously it was said by the princess of the water tribe. I don't know what her name is, but Kate Winslet's daughter. She says, "The way of water has no beginning and no end. Our hearts beat in the womb of the world. Water connects all things, life to death, darkness to light." The fuck does that mean? I mean, like, I know what it means, but what does it have to do with the plot? That's my big connection. Is like,
Well,
they do this whole thing. Like, I get that they're in water, but like, what does water like teach them about life that like leads to their victory or to like their success or their happiness? Like, they have that. Like, I think I'm just like, either I'm missing some connection or it just feels like an overly forced, cool set piece location. Like, James Cameron loves being in the water, so this is his water movie. But like, the thematic storytelling there is a little confusing. Can you explain it, Kody?
I think maybe a little bit. Obviously, he does like being underwater, which I don't blame him. But I think it has more to do with James Cameron, like why he wants to make these movies. And the reason he wants to make these movies is to try and save the environment. So it's not, I don't think it has to do with the plot at all. I think it has to do with his main theme of being like, hey, the ocean is sick. Like, these people are a part of the ecosystem. They live and breathe solely through the water. We can do the same thing. Let's save the planet. I think that's what he's saying by that. Plot wise, I mean, yeah, you got me there. I can't really explain that, but I think that's his vision for all of these movies. Really is.
Yeah, I know we got the deforestation movie in the first one, and this is the the whaling movie. But
yeah,
and I guess the volcano bulldozing movie. I don't know what.
Don't
dump trash in volcanoes.
Actually, we should. Isn't that that's a genius idea?
Well,
right.
Defer to Aidan.
I think that gets into some more ecological questions about how the atmosphere works. But regardless of that,
matter is not created or destroyed, Kody.
What if you melt it though?
I hadn't thought of that. Aidan, are you a fan of The Way of the Water as a concept?
So I think, like, as a sequel, and I like struggled with this when I was trying to think about how I wanted to word this. In the grand scheme of the Avatar, right, of the series, if James Cameron lives long enough to finish his vision for Pandora, I think it will make more sense, because like, we're getting rumors that the third movie has to do with the fire. And I think when he's done, it would not surprise me if he's just exploring like different elements, almost like a certain other Avatar related TV show, maybe. I'm sure there's no correlation there, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it would make more sense once he's all finished. But the fact that we had to wait 12 years for this is where I think people get disappointed, right? If this had been released when it was initially supposed to, in like 2015, I think it would have been received a little bit better, and I think people would have been able to see that a little bit better. But just as like this grand sequel, I completely agree. It was just, he wanted to be in the water, and this was like his vision for what was next.
Well, and it's interesting, you talk about waiting so long, and some of the problems that I had off the first watch were like, well, like, this was never addressed and like this wasn't explained. But like, I kind of have to like take a step back and be like, this is just like the second movie and what's going to be like 5 other like 3-hour movies. So like, there's a lot more to explore, and like, this world is still vast and big, and there are unanswered questions. And so I think I have to respect that. But I think because we waited 13 years, it feels like this should just be like the story. Like, I don't know, like, this isn't part 2. This is, well, it is part 2, but it's part 2 of 5 or 6, not part 2 of 2, which, I guess can leave some people disappointing for sure. Talking about people in this and just general credits, we see the return of Kate Winslet in an interesting role. What did you guys think of her performance and, her return to the world of James Cameron and water as well?
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good. I mean, it's hard in the mocap to really stand out, I think. But her character I thought was pretty badass, and actually had like a decent amount of dialogue compared to the rest of the Water Tribe people. So I thought it was a good role. I would guess that she'll just keep continuing, being different people in these different tribes, just because I mean it's mocap. That's kind of what they did with Sigourney Weaver, which I'm sure we'll talk about too.
Well,
But
I mean, it appears at the end of this movie that they're staying with the same tribe. So I think
well, they
she'll
said
be
that in the
around.
last movie too, didn't they? I don't know.
Well, true.
Yeah, I think like you said, it's hard to stand out. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had forgotten that Kate Winslet was in the movie until the credits, and had to like look up which character she was, just because, like you said, it's hard to tell. But I mean, this is her first Cameron movie since Titanic. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. She was not very happy with having to film in water tanks, apparently, but she's back.
She is back. She just can't escape him. But yeah, like it was cool that she was featured in it, but it wasn't something that was like super standing out to me.
Yeah, I agree. It is almost. I mean, you can't really fault an actor for, I guess, disappearing into a role, right? But like, it didn't really stand out as Kate Winslet at all, and they probably could have gotten somebody else to do it that wasn't her. And it is a weird choice for her particularly.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the beauty of these movies, though. Like, none of the acting really stands out. I think Zoe Saldana, like her just from the first one. But I mean, if that wasn't Sam Worthington, like I honestly wouldn't be surprised. If you're like, oh, that was Andy Serkis acting like Sam Worthington, like 5 years later, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Like I couldn't tell you. But I feel like mocap is tough to stand out. You have to like do an accent like Stephen Lang or something, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Kate Winslet, like she was good, but it's just the role's too small really for her to do anything. And then also just to continue roll credits, some other stuff I had down. I think The Way of Water, like as a subtitle, it's actually pretty good. It might be the best one we get, if we're being honest.
Rumored the Seed Bearer coming soon.
Yeah, that's a great one. Can't wait for the Seed Bearer. But I mean, hey,
back to the whale sperm.
Yeah, it always comes back to that. But yeah, The Way of Water. I mean, it's simple, it's memorable, it fits the movie. I bet in 20 years when he's released 5 more, that's probably the best one. And also another thing I wanted to mention, the closing shot in this movie, it's kind of an homage to the first one. So the first one obviously opens and closes with the eyes opening and then the eyes closing, Sam Worthington and then Sam Worthington Avatar. This one, it opens with some cool establishing shots, of Pandora, which I guess is cool. But the ending, again, they do the homage where it's like the opening of the eyes, which I thought was dope. I thought they should have opened it and ended it that way. But I'll take just the homage at the end.
We open with Neytiri in the jungle, right? After that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the real opening scene is that, and I think it does do like a close up of her face. But I mean, there's like 30 seconds before that of just Pandora crap.
Yeah.
Kind of tough.
And is there any other filmmaker that could do this? Like, is there anyone else that could make this movie?
Is there anyone else that would want to do this?
Yeah. That was my question too. Who would want to do this? I mean, it doesn't look like much fun.
That's true.
And I think that's where I think about the actors is this is a James Cameron movie. Like this is, and I guess you could say like most James Cameron movies are a James Cameron movie, but this is his movie. And I don't think anyone else would be able to like take that on, nor would they want to.
Yeah, yep. I agree with that generally. I mean, obviously that's the crazy thing though to say, because it's like there's so many people that go into making this, right? And there's so many people that go into making any movie, but this one especially, like P8 on one shoot, because like this was shot in so many different pieces and different like times and location, like then there's tons of like VFX stuff, and like there's just so many moving parts that go into a movie. And there's an interesting question of like, is there really like a single auteur behind this, or is it a mass project? And in most cases I would say no, it is about the the whole rather than just, or I guess the parts rather than just the whole. But I think if you lose James Cameron, I don't you could have every other part be the same with and no James Cameron, and this would be. I just don't think you could do it.
I mean, I feel like other people would definitely like if he did actually like die. I think somebody would step up and be like, "All right, I'm gonna."
Who are they hiring, Kody? What's your pick?
I mean, the first one off the top of my head is J.J. Abrams, but I don't know if that would go well. I mean, you just need a big sci-fi director. Anything from Star Wars, fuck it, dude. Give it to Rian Johnson at this point. I'd be fine with that.
Give it to the Russos. What do you think about that, Kody?
The Russos will 100%. The thing is, like in Hollywood, people would want to do this because every single one makes like $3 billion. So you'd be dumb not to. And like you said, it's definitely a collaborative effort. I think James Cameron is not going through every frame, doing every single VFX, reshooting every single scene. There's a lot of help and there's a lot going into these movies. So I think even if you were brought on as the director, it's like, oh, I don't have to do that much really, and I'm still getting this massive paycheck. So
let's move on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good stuff. I'll go with the first one. And you kind of talked about this a little bit, Kody, but James Cameron, yes, he rips off a lot of things, but the main thing I think he's ripping off here is his own life, actually, because to me, Jake Sully is James Cameron. James Cameron has, kind of a bit of a mixed family similar to that of Jake Sully, children of different parents and wives and such, and except kids. And he was a very like militant person very early on, and call me sir, let's rock shit, let's be very professional in the household. And I think his family kind of pushed back against that at a certain point, from what I understand, and kind of made him turn things around and change if he wanted to be a part of their lives. And that's kind of what happens to Jake Sully in this movie to a certain extent. His family doesn't push back, but he, I guess, has to kind of lighten up a little bit or stop being such a hard ass. But yeah, so Jake Sully is James Cameron. And if you're going to make a movie, especially a movie about family and love and life, you should, base it off of something real.
True. Yeah. Do you think one of his sons, is that too far? But yeah. I think that is sort of the best kind of movies though, where a director or like the lead actor can relate to stuff that's happened in real life. I mean, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man is a great example, but there's so many perfect examples of that. And like putting aspects of your real life in a movie usually makes it better. So I feel like James Cameron didn't take too much from his real life because this movie sucks. But yeah, Aidan, we'll hop into you. Give us some good stuff you like about this movie.
For me, I kind of touched on it earlier, but the thing that stood out so much from the first movie was the characters and specifically the kids. And not that the kids were incredible actors or had incredible lines, but just I felt like you could just connect with them much more. And maybe that was because the majority of their dialogue came during like an hour and a half span where nothing really happened. So you didn't have much of a choice to connect with the kids. But I felt like I was much more attached to like their own, like what they were going through, like how they were adjusting to the tribe itself. I thought that was kind of something I got attached to early on. Whereas like in the first movie, like Kody, you had kind of said, like it's just Jake Sully rebelling against his like cult, which is cool, I guess. But for me, like that wasn't something that, at least me personally, I was like super bought into. Whereas the kids were what really like stood out to me as like the highlights, at least for the characters.
It's interesting. Yeah. There's one kid that we don't really get to see very much of, and then he fucking dies. So
I don't even know what one died.
The older brother one died.
Are you
the responsible older brother trope?
So is the younger brother's fault again. They should have just killed the younger brother, I think. I don't know.
That brings me to my second point, is that there are some, okay, good writing decisions, as I talked about early. First of all, James Cameron had a big problem when he got to this point, is that the Na'vi speak a different language other than English. And if you're going to make a movie, yes, you could do it all in subtitles, and you could have that papyrus font just all over your movie. He made the right decision in with one throwaway line, hey, I've been around Na'vi so long, or, the Na'vi language so long, it just sounds like English to me. And then suddenly everybody's speaking English. I think that is a dumb thing in a dumb line, but it works really well. And it is successful. And it's probably the best thing you could do. So I got to give him credit for that, because in terms of making the movie flow, getting you to buy in, making it make sense. Yeah. Okay, sure. Boom. Okay. and we keep rolling. And there's another 100 things we have to address in the first hour of this movie. Some other stuff, it establishes very early on this Neytiri Spider relationship. She never really accepts him into the family. And then, we kind of see that play out in the third act. So, her first interaction of them on screen is her being like, he should be back with his own people. So like establishes that early. The younger brother screwing the older brother over, that trope, the responsible older brother. I mean, the very first scene we see of them in battle is the younger brother putting him in danger, and then he gets hurt. This is obviously heavily foreshadowing his eventual demise because of some dumb shit that the younger brother gets him into. It also happens another time in the middle of the movie. And then the other thing that I think is really smart writing, like you said, is getting rid of the unobtainium. Obviously, whale brains is just a replacement of that. And they also have the whole thing that Earth is dying and we need to like live on this planet. But I think saying that about whale brains is better than unobtainium, because everything is better than unobtainium.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. My big one was just like the overall message. I did like it better than the first one. The whaling scene, like the first time they show that, I thought was actually like really well done. Really like just thought provoking, being like they legit do this to whales and even like tons of other animals too, rhinos, namely. Like that happens every single day. It's pretty crazy. And also like the whales being like these super intelligent creatures. Like they said they were smarter than us and they're just choosing not to fight because it's just against their morals. I think that's sick. Like these whales are like, we are so much better than you that we'll literally let you kill us just because we're smarter. Like these whales are badass. So shout out to them. And that kind of goes along with my big thing that I really liked about this movie as well. Everything visual in the water with just the one brother and the one whale who had that connection, I thought was awesome. That was by far my favorite, just visual wise. Him just holding on to his fin with like those deep underwater shots I thought were sick. And then when he sped up as well and was flying with him, I thought it was sick. So shout out James Cameron. He knows what he's doing visually. My biggest pro in the last movie was all the flying scenes. So he knows what he's doing, I feel like, action wise, in drawing you in with this 3D. And I think it worked maybe even better in the water. So yeah, those were my big pros.
Yeah, as far as his message, it felt much more direct in this movie, where I felt like in the first Avatar movie, it was just very broad and maybe to like the average viewer, not super relatable. Like personally, it's the same thing as like when you see on the news, like about global warming and climate change, like you don't see that affecting you personally, like you don't see that visually, but like specifically that scene where they're harvesting
it felt very
the whale
centrist
just,
in the first movie.
Right. Like he was presenting this as an issue, but I think in this movie, especially like where they're harvesting the whale, which is very brutal and kind of unexpected compared to like what had happened the previous like hour and a half. It just kind of like shocked you into like, this is actually what happens. I thought like that was where he was like really hitting home with this point, which I really enjoyed that. I mean, didn't enjoy that part, but the message behind that.
That was your favorite scene. the
I
whale.
love watching the whales. Yeah.
I do agree that a lot of the water stuff does look really great outside of that like final boat battle at night.
Yeah.
The first shot of Pandora is incredible. I think everything in space, you say it's very Star Wars, but it looks better than anything Star Wars has ever done. That shot of the spaceship, that is my favorite shot of the movie. It is the coolest thing. And I wish these films leaned more heavy sci-fi, like true sci-fi. And I think that's probably why I don't like them as much, as because they're not as like alien. It's more natural, connected to the world type thing.
I don't know. I never really think of these movies as sci-fi for some reason.
Exactly. That's my point. But they are technically, right?
They definitely are. Now that I think about it, but I wouldn't classify it really in that genre. I don't know.
The shots of the eclipse and the stuff as the sun setting looked really cool. Kind of Christopher Nolan-esque, Interstellar-esque with the eclipse.
The eclipse was sick visually too. Yeah, that I back that.
I think Aidan mentioned it earlier, but when they're traveling to the water tribe and they're like flying in the rain and there's a storm, that also just looks incredible. There's some beautiful shots, and then there's some icky ones at different points. And then another cool thing is that they shot this movie in New Zealand for the most part. They used the old Weta studios that Peter Jackson was using for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, shot in similar locations. There's people in this that are New Zealanders like Jermaine Clement and Australian people, kind of a similar thing to like what George Lucas did. He shot the first Phantom Menace in England, and there's a lot of like great English stage actors, and then he moved to Australia for the next one, and then you need all these like Australian TV and other actors to fill in. So like a lot of, the bit parts are, people from those areas. There's also almost like a Pacific Islander Maori cultural aspect a little bit to the sea people, which, bringing in that, type of world. Obviously the first movie was very indigenous adjacent at the very least. Maybe we'll get into the bad with kind of some of the ways that it presents this later, but yeah, that's mostly good stuff I had for this.
My last good thing, any scene where Neytiri is using her bow and arrow and shooting people is just awesome every single time. That does it for me every single time. And we really only got that at the beginning when they were initially like raiding the train, but that just gets me every single time.
Yeah.
Well, that actually goes to go ahead, Kody.
No, I was gonna say, I think Zoe Saldana was kind of underutilized in this movie because all of her scenes I loved, and especially like her. I don't know if it's a connection, but kind of her rivalry with Stephen Lang, because he knows that she's the one who killed her. He seeing those arrows, obviously, with like the specific fucking feathers on it. I can't talk today, but and then when she shows up later and Stephen Lang sees the arrow again, he's like, oh shit, Neytiri's here. I'm coming for you, whatever. Which I think is a really cool, just like personal vendetta against her. And yeah, I think her screen time was not the best, honestly. I think if you put her in Jake Sully's role as like the actual linchpin of the family, I think this movie is better.
Well, that's my first bad thing, is that she just does Zoe Saldana, who I think, like you said in the first one, is really the only like recognizable and person that transcends beyond just like being an avatar, like or being a Na'vi person. Like she kind of really, she's a star in these movies, and she's so underutilized in this film, and she's just not there. She barely gets any scenes, and she's like doing the worst stuff in all of them. It's just like, oh, you get to show up here and be fucking mad at Spider. Or like, I don't know. She's just she doesn't, obviously this focuses more on the children, but it's like the children in Jake's relationship, not really the children in Neytiri's relationship at all, which I think sucks.
I feel like her connection to Spider too, like she pretty much hates that kid. She was willing to sacrifice that guy at the end of the movie. And that's not even touched on after that. Like they're all Spider comes back and starts hugging Jake and everybody. Like there's no even scene where he's like, hey, were you really going to kill me, Neytiri? Or they don't even address it or anything. So I wish like her character development was more in the forefront as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, like before they're leaving for the like water tribe, when they haven't abandoned the forest people, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a scene where she's kind of scolding Jake almost for how he's acting towards the children. And I thought that was cool, that like exploring their dynamic a little bit more. And then we just don't get that again, like at all.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, that she just kind of gets painted as the bad guy, like towards Spider the rest of the movie. That's kind of just her whole role, is just her against Spider and then her against Miles.
Well, and then the whole thing is like, she doesn't want to leave her tribe, her family. Like that makes fucking sense, right? Like the place first of all, Jake, they've built a family there for the past 13 years. This is happening in real time, right? So like you've had that growth connection happen. And they're like the leaders of this clan. She's like the religious leader. Like this is an important thing for her. And he's just like, no, we have to leave. And if you ask me, I don't think they do need to leave.
That's not the right choice.
Yeah, I think it's the wrong choice.
I was going to go into this much more at length later, but let's just do it now, because them leaving, I think it's a cop-out move. I mean, that they're going to be hunting you anyways, because he knows
set a trap.
That was after Stephen Lang showed up, right? So they already knew he was here.
That's why they're running, because they have Spider. Well,
he's going to burn down every tribe he goes through that are not there. So you're just sacrificing all these other people on the planet just to, supposedly protect your family. But eventually, like, you're going to fight him. So
if you're going to leave, you have to go into exile. Otherwise, you are risking everybody's lives. And you know that.
I guess this is kind of building off of that. My biggest issue with them leaving was the whole reason that Miles gets like cloned, right? When they clone them, they say your mission is to kill the insurgency leader, who happens to be Jake Sully. Okay, fine. Jake Sully then anoints someone else the leader of the insurgency and leaves. And then so the clones just give up trying to kill the insurgency leader for like no reason. That's the whole reason that they were cloned by the humans, and then they just have their personal vendettas.
And does Jake?
That is true.
Obviously, they don't. At least not on screen. They don't attack their tribe after they leave. But why would Jake assume that their tribe is safe just because they leave? What has Quaritch ever done?
Backwards. like if he leaves, if I am him,
they're defenseless.
Jake, I am assuming exactly. I'm just leaving these people out to die. That just did not make any sense to me.
Because their whole at the end of the day, the humans' mission is to basically just like exterminate all the Na'vi people, or at least like get them out of their homes because they want to take over the planet. So like regardless if you stay or you go, these people are gonna get fucking murdered either way. So
and like he does tie back to it, like at the end, he says like I'm tired of running, like I'm here to fight. And I'm like, did it really take 3 hours of runtime for you to come to that conclusion? Because I could have told you that within 20 minutes of the movie starting.
And why not just go? Why are you now sea people? Why not go back to your home, the people that you belong? Like, why did you ever? There's no growth.
They're way with the water now, Korbin. Did you watch the movie? Go on.
Did you listen to any?
Their one kid gets in the water. The rest of them don't give a shit about the water.
What do you mean? Sigourney Weaver's, a fish. She's a natural fish, dude.
Let's talk about that. Another bad thing. What the fuck is going? Why do they put Sigourney Weaver as a baby child in this movie?
She sounds like she's about 40 years old and like a 10-year-old body. Like the voice. She didn't even try to do a different voice. It's just Sigourney Weaver. I don't know.
This gets into the story things that I just don't really like. So Sigourney Weaver as coming back as her own kid, obviously just like a dumb thing that they do. The whole evil twin Quaritch, yes, that's stupid. Particularly the scene when he wakes up and you get Giovanni Ribisi here and he's talking to the alive Quaritch and he's like, hey, don't you know what you're supposed to do? Remind him how this works. And it's like you're talking to the audience and it's just like, why would he not know how this works? He has the memories of Lang. He remembers. This gets into the whole question about clone ethics and like existentialism and, go back to our Prestige pod if you really want to get into it. But, why doesn't he have these memories? Why does he have an eagle tattoo on his avatar body? There's just so many unanswered questions.
Why is his crew just the most basic military idiots of all time?
Oh my God. They're
caricatures.
They're lifting the weights.
Yeah.
They're fist bumping when they announce that they're, yes.
The
sunglasses
kill me every time. It looks terrible too. Like it doesn't even look like a cool design. But that's the biggest like gate for me. Just that scene reintroducing Lang. It's like it's fun, but it's so stupid. So I don't really like that.
So cringy.
Is he low key the main character of this movie?
No, it's gotta be Jake Sully. How many times is the words Jake Sully said in this movie? It's gotta be over 100.
Hey, you know what they do say? They say Avatar a lot more in this movie.
Yeah. That's true. No avatars allowed, or only avatars. Also, like the cool
fingers.
Yeah, that's true. They really care about fingers in this movie too. But the cool scientist crew from the first one, they're not even in it. They're in it for like 10 minutes. I wish they would have showed up at the end or something, because I feel like most of those characters from the first like are actually pretty likable. Like that. Oh, they should have brought back Michelle Rodriguez as well. But I think there were a lot of pieces from the first that. Like you probably could have even carried over more. But anyways.
The only time that the Norm and the other dude show up beyond the beginning of the movie is in the second or in the third act to then give away the position. Yeah. So that's why they're there for fucking dumb.
They try to save Kiri. And
why do they? Why would
they say, "Hey, you have epilepsy," and then Kate Winslet's character just heals her.
Well, why would they think that she has that? Like, why? I just don't. She connected to the fucking god and she had a seizure. Like, I don't know. What do you expect to happen?
Also, why wouldn't they ask like the water people for help first instead of calling these people from across the planet? How did they get there before the water people showed up?
And Natiri's like a healer too, but I don't. Maybe she said, "I don't give a shit about this kid."
Not my kid. I don't care. Anyways, though, some of my other negatives, I want to throw them out there. Obviously, this is a long movie. We said that already. But it does kind of take like 2 hours just to get to a big fight, which is kind of tough. I wish they had one like at the beginning, actually. Like the forest people versus
Well, there's the train bombing. That's like the best you get.
Yeah, and they kidnap the kids briefly. That's a decent scene too, but I would have rather seen like a massive fight in the beginning and then a massive one at the end. But I guess that's just a nitpick. Also, I mean, we talked about. Do we need to talk about the brothers more? I don't know. I can't tell them apart.
They have different necklaces, Cody.
They do, but I feel like they have the same voice, which makes sense because they're brothers. But I can't tell them apart, and the death didn't affect me at all. I don't know if I have no heart or that's just me. But lastly, I wanted to talk about. We haven't talked about Ex Machinas in a while, Corbin. And this movie, it's another ripoff. It rips off Jurassic World with a giant whale Ex Machina.
Jurassic World. Yeah, you're right. And Jurassic Park.
I said Jurassic World, didn't I?
Right. Yeah, you did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, Jurassic Park does it too. You are correct there.
Jurassic World rips off Jurassic Park.
Yeah. The Jurassic World one is the massive Shamu fish coming out and smacking the one guy. This one, it's the massive whale coming out of nowhere and just body slamming on the boat. Cool scene. But you're still ripping off Jurassic World, so I gotta call you out for it.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to that. The match cut of the Quaritch being his dad reveal between Spider.
Yeah,
because they don't even tell you, but it's just like, oh, you're not him, says Sigourney Weaver, and then we just hard cut to Quaritch on the ship. Which also in the first movie, do avatars have to have like air packs? That seems like a new thing, a weird new addition.
Well, I think it was just when they were on the human planet. Well, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. We talked about Spider. Do you guys know why Stephen Lang cared about Spider at the end of the movie? Because I'm kind of confused on that.
Why Stephen? I mean, because it's his kid.
Yeah, but he said it like 5 times. Like it's not actually his kid.
Well, it is though. I mean,
I think it's the same thing. Like, why does Stephen Lang's character care so much about killing Jake Sully? Aside from the fact that it's just like his clone's vendetta,
he's
right?
emotional.
It's just yeah. So it's his clone's kid. It's his clone's vendetta. Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
I agree.
I don't buy it.
I think
he's also a cold-hearted killer, so I don't know why he cares about some white kid with dreads, but that's just me.
Any last bad things before we move on to ugly?
Oh yeah, I have my worst thing. I typed this in all caps when I was getting ready. So the final fight scene. Where the hell does the ocean tribe go? So initially, right, they come in and they're all riding their like sea creatures, and there's this giant just pack of the ocean tribe, and it's cool. And they fight and they kind of win. But the humans still have the daughter.
Kids, yeah.
And then we just don't see them again for the rest of the movie. Like there's this giant army. And instead, it's just the Sullys fighting like 5v infinite number of humans. Like, where did they go? That's what I wanted. Like, were they just done?
They could have been pretty useful when they're all trapped underwater too. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Like, you think? I'm just like they like fought half of the battle and then just kind of gave up.
They said,
got
hey,
tired, man.
all of our people are good. We're getting the heck out.
But they still have the daughter.
They don't care.
I was so confused. As soon as everything's crumbling down in fire, I'm like, where are the hundreds and hundreds of people that are directly related to someone who's dying in this? It's very, very confusing to me. I don't know if they just didn't think about that or what, but that was just baffling to me.
That's a really good point. They do just disappear in the final.
They're just
I didn't
gone.
think about that. That's a great point. They just don't care.
Well, that was my last big thing.
Last thing, I think the first hour of this movie is pretty unbearable to watch. Like it is really bad. Like I know there's a lot they got to cover. It's been 13 years. We got to catch you up. We got to address the fact that avatars have 4 fingers now. But like, it's bad. The first hour is bad. It picks up, but man. All right, the ugly. All right, Cody, what do you think? What's ugly about this movie?
Well, I had originally the last fight looks pretty video gamey, but we talked about that already. My big one, which I think is pretty funny. So obviously the whole Sigourney Weaver thing is pretty weird, and her character and Spider, they're getting a little chummy for my liking. So my question is, in the next movie, is a 50-year-old Sigourney Weaver gonna be like making out with a Spider kid? Because I really don't want to see that. So that's my big ugly.
The actor who plays Spider currently is 19 years old, meaning
Jack something. What's his name?
when they filmed this, he was not.
Jack Champion.
Champion. That's what it is. Yeah.
Great
So,
last name.
Well, give it a couple years. I guess he'll be like 20 something.
I think he was cast when he was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Like he's been around. It is
Well,
weird.
haven't they already filmed the third one?
They filmed the second one, or they filmed the third one, and then they've like filmed parts of the fourth one already.
Oh, really?
So he fully
going
could have
back
been
to
like
that.
17 or 18.
Well, the whole reason James Cameron said he wanted to film these movies in succession was so that he didn't grow up, so that the kids stayed the same age was this whole thing. Which
So what
also
we're saying is they've
he already
been
looks a
out.
little old, but yeah.
They've already kissed it. We're just waiting to see it on screen. It's happened.
CGI Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, no, I mean this was 100% my ugly as well. Why is Sigourney filling up that child? Is what I wrote down. Like it's really uncomfortable.
Stuff. Anyway, Aiden, what's your ugly?
I don't know. I had trouble coming up with something for this one. I guess I didn't even think about that. That is really creepy. Can't wait to see where James Cameron goes in the third movie. I'm sure that'll be the first thing I watch out for. I guess my ugly, the random like researcher who was on the whaling ship, who like has like a couple lines where he's like trying to be like very
Played by
just, like, a
Jermaine Clement.
champion. Yes, I think I wrote it down as Dr. Ian Corbin, and he's like kind of saying how wrong this is, but then he's like, "Oh, they fund my research, so I just have to go along with this." I'm like, isn't your research kind of like just like directly contradicting everything that's happening? I guess that was just like an ugly like morality thing for me. Like, and maybe just not even necessary to be in the movie, considering he didn't end up doing anything with that.
Well, that's the thing is I agree 100%. I don't like that character and the way they use them. I think it would be a interesting idea to have in the movie because, scientific research has to be funded, right? And like there's a cool conversation to be had about, the horrors of this, certain the expenses you have to take for positive, change, right? So like his character could be interesting of like, I have to deal with this whole whaling thing so I can do my research, so I can learn more. If he has any sort of turn or moment of redemption or anything, but he just, again, disappears from the plot and from the story. And I don't know if he dies or like, I don't know what happened, but there's just nothing. There is no resolution to that storyline. And it kind of builds like there might be.
Yeah, I was fully expecting him to, when he's loading the harpoons and shooting the whales in the big fight scene, the whaling captain, like I'm fully expecting him to go and like throw him off the ship or just something little like that. And then there's just like, he just dies with the rest of them.
Yeah, really dumb. Obviously in the first movie, James Cameron was criticized for, this being like a white savior story, a white interloper story, kind of oldest time, right? It's Pinocchio remade, or not Pinocchio, it's Pocahontas remade, right? But I can't get Pinocchio off the mind. But an interesting thing he did in that movie was that the Na'vi were all primarily played by, BIPOC people. This movie does not follow with that. I don't know. Do you guys, I guess, I don't really know if I should have any feelings about this, but I think it's an interesting choice and something that should at least be brought up and thought about in the context of it all. He made a very distinct decision in the first movie to do that. Not as much in this one. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, his excuse will probably be like, "Oh, the water tribe is different from the forest tribe," which I don't know if that's legit. But yeah, I mean, I do agree. I think you could have stuck to your guns if you're doing that for the first one and include that diversity aspect. But yeah, I mean, it's Jimmy Cameron at the end of the day, so it's not super surprising, but it is kind of tough.
Yeah, I think it just kind of makes the first one seem like it was just like a platitude. Like, because obviously, like, you can't really tell unless you're like going and looking at the cast list, right? Who were playing the Na'vi. But the fact that he did it for the first one and then kind of like, I don't know if made a big deal out of it, but it was definitely well known that was happening. And then in this one, there just wasn't really anything mentioned about it. Just kind of makes that, I think, less meaningful from the first movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't even necessarily know if it was a good thing that he like did that in the first movie or that like that was the choice he made. But like the fact that he like then pivots, it's just interesting.
Oh, I have one, and I just thought of it just because you were talking about this.
I go.
And I don't even know if this was anything. It just kind of was a scene that made me raise my eyebrows a little bit and just kind of look around if anyone else was kind of thinking. At the very beginning, they're like rubbing blue paint on Spider's face, and then he says, "I feel like it makes me faster." And just to hear that from it just like made me raise my eyebrows.
Spider was in Blueface. Yeah, it was really strange.
But it wasn't just that. But then
I mean, his dreads
after,
too. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, no, that is a questionable thing, and it's kind of a when you think about it in the context that James Cameron put it in the first movie, it definitely becomes more questionable. Weird character all in all, Spider. They also, something that I don't really like that they removed from this movie is in the first is they, whenever they kill a creature that they're hunting, they always do their whole like prayer thing, and it's connected to the natural world and everything matters. And yes, like it's clear Spider's been raised with those values because he's like, oh, you only use the brain juice, you don't use the whole whale. But like there's the fishing scene, and they kill the fish in the pond, and they hunt these animals, and they just have like they've given up on their religious aspect, or at least their like prayers after their killing of the animals. I think that's a little strange.
Yeah, that is true. Continuity, not Jimmy's best suit, I would say. But dude, that was a great family moment. What are you talking about, Corbin? They can't focus on spiritual stuff when they're focused on the family.
To some people, spirituality is an important cornerstone of every family in America, don't you know?
Well said.
Let's move on to weird movie details trivia.
Naked grandma. Naked, huh?
My question, I threw one out there because I'm just curious. Do you guys do you know what the whales are actually called?
No, something with a B, maybe. I have no guesses.
Like a beluga.
Beluga. What'd you say, Corbin?
Tolkien.
I think
I do remember that.
I would have never guessed that in a million years.
That's not my real trivia. But go ahead, Kody. What's your first question?
Okay, yeah, my question is a fun one, and you guys can work together on it. Pretty simple. I just want you to name me Jake Sully and Natiri's 5 children. Could you just name them for me?
Oh God. So if we're including Spider.
Yeah, so Spider's in.
Spider, Took
Kiri
is the girl.
Yep, Took, Kiri. What about the brothers? What are their names?
One of them is like Loak.
Yeah.
I don't know which one.
Something like that.
Okay. And I can't tell you the other one.
I believe Loak's the younger brother, I think, right? I don't know.
If there were subtitles, I would have known, but there wasn't, so no papyrus.
Guesses for the other brother, Corbin?
I got nothing, man.
I guess a letter.
N.
I think if I guess, I'm not gonna guess.
Netayam? Something like that. Neteyam? Netayam, maybe? I don't know. But I think the daughters are like, I even remembered their names, but the brothers, I just got lost. So I thought that was a fun one to challenge you guys.
That was a tough one, Kody. Aidan, what do you got for us?
All right, I got a good one. So this is a little bit of trivia and math. How many vials of the whale sperm they put a price point on it? How many vials of the whale sperm anti-aging cream would it take to finance this movie?
Oh shit.
Kody, do you know the amount of money that those are worth?
Worth of it.
It's $80 million. For the vial.
Oh, it's 80 million. You actually know that?
The vial is 80 million. The budget of the movie.
How do you know that?
Like the budget, he said it had to be. I mean, he said this had to be like the second highest grossing movie of all time, like $1.4 billion, I think. So
I guess the budget's like 400.
How many times does 80 go into 1.4 million? 1.4 million.
I think 5 whales will do the trick. That's my guess.
If we're going up to 1.4 billion, it's like 16 or 17 or something like that.
You think that's the budget of the movie?
Yes.
$1 billion to make this movie? How much do you have to make back to not lose money? Like 5 billion? With all the
No, just over the budget. What are you talking about?
What about all the advertising? No,
I'm including that, I think, in the 1.4 billion. But
okay, what's your number then?
I'm gonna say 18.
All right.
So I guess there's conflicting reports about how much this movie costs to make, because when I just did a Google search, it said 250 million and that it was 1 billion to make all 4 of them.
Yeah, okay.
But then there's other things that say up to 460 million. My main thing was if you knew how much the vial of anti-aging cream costs, and that was good, Corbin.
Thank you. Yeah, well,
there's no way it takes $1 billion to make this movie, Corbin.
The thing that James Cameron said is he said this movie, to be profitable, will have to be like the second highest grossing movie of all time.
Yeah, just because they filmed back to back too, I think. Just to solidify the sequel was going to do pretty good too, kind of that sort of thing.
Exactly. So, total money spent, yeah, it's up there.
It's probably like,
and they're also, whenever they put out the budget, like that's not a legal figure that they have to tell you. Disney's not going to tell you how much they spent.
Whatever's online is definitely not correct. A quick Google search for me says 250 mil. So it's probably like 350 realistically. And then with advertising and all that crap, it's probably like 500, 600. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money regardless, but a lot of whales.
A lot of whale sperm.
Speaking of money, let's talk about the highest grossing movies of 2022. We're just going to go from 1 to maybe like 15. See if you guys can work through them. I'll give you hints as we go.
Yes.
So what's number 1 with $1.92 billion at the time of recording?
Avatar 2.
Thank you. Jesus, guys. Come on. That was the easy one. All right. Number 2 with $1.4 billion.
What else? Doctor Strange. No?
This is
Top Gun.
What are you going to?
Top Gun 2.
Top Gun Maverick. Number 3 with $1 billion. Sequel to a movie you mentioned earlier that this one rips its ending off of.
Titanic 2. What did I mention? Was there a Star Wars movie this year? No.
Was there a Fast and Furious movie this year?
No. The specific, the Ex Machina scene.
A Jurassic World Dominion's 3rd?
$1 billion. Number 4. Marvel film.
Doctor Strange.
$955 million. Doctor Strange. Number 5. $939 million. An animated hit.
Oh, Puss in Boots. There you go.
An animated phenomenon on TikTok. Gentle.
I have seen most of the movie on TikTok. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even need to pay a ticket. I just have TikTok.
Cody, gentle blank.
What does that mean?
Yeet song.
Are you speaking English right
now? Rich Minion, Cody.
Rich Minion. Despicable Me.
Minions, The Rise of Gru. Number 6, another Marvel movie.
Thor.
Different Marvel movie.
How many did they fucking release this year? What came out in like January? I don't fucking know.
Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman.
Oh, I haven't seen it still. I'm sorry. Black Panther 2. Waiting for the Disney Plus release, I think.
Number 7. The Year of DC.
Black Adam.
God no. That movie lost money. No, dude, I'm too tired to be doing this right
now. The Batman. Number 8. Marvel's back with the last one.
Yeah, Thor.
Okay. Number 9 is, I believe, a Chinese film called Watergate Bridge. Number 10 is a Chinese film called Moon Man. Number 11, J.K. Rowling's Child.
Fantastic Beasts 3.
Yes. Number 12, animated sequel.
Oh man. Lightyear? No. Is it?
Animated sequel starring Idris Elba, James Marsden, and Jim Carrey.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic 2. Number 13, video game adaptation. Aiden, you're a video gamer. What is it?
Uncharted.
Number 14, changing the power of the DC universe forever.
There you go.
Black Adam.
And finally, at 15, future Best Picture winner,
Tar.
The man who has yet to get out of his role since filming it 4 years ago.
Oh man, I hate that guy, Elvis.
Elvis. Wow,
Austin
Cody, that
Butler
was
better not win
fucking
the
bad,
Oscar.
dude.
God, I hate Austin Butler. Yeah, that was a nice little segment there, Corbin. I think we got about half of them. That's pretty good.
You got to start
Pass.
studying
about half of them.
the old box
Passing
office
today.
there, Cody.
I'm sorry. I feel like I knew the Marvel ones at least, other than Black Panther. But
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we're back. Welcome to the Academy.
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won. Come on, this is not a joke.
Cody, what would you like to award this film?
I have two, I think, elite awards. I'll start off the first one, and I truly believe this. I think this is the best Sam Worthington movie of all time. In our last episode, we were rigging on him a lot harder, very deservedly so. And just to read off his IMDb quickly one more time, we got Man on a Ledge, just hot garbage. Clash of the Titans, somehow even worse. Terminator 4, the movie that killed Christian Bale almost mentally. And then he's also in the first Avatar. But I already said I like this movie better than the first. So I think no doubt this has to be, by default almost, the best Sam Worthington movie. But yeah, what do you guys think? You think that's true or no?
I like the first Avatar better, so no, I don't think it's true.
This guy.
Yeah, I think it's just between the two avatars, right?
Clash of the Titans, underrated?
No.
Is he in the first one or is he just in the sequel?
I think he's in both, but
Okay.
I mean, doesn't matter. I mean, they're both god awful.
I think Wrath is a little bit worse, but he's also in Call of Duty, like all the Call of Duty games. That's where people really love him. He's also in Hacksaw Ridge, Cody. Is that a better movie? Probably.
I haven't seen that movie, and I assume he has a tiny role, so I just left it out.
I would like to give this movie the award for the Oscar for best visual effects. I think I'm taking a stand. This movie has good effects. I think what do you guys think? Should it get nominated? Maybe.
I don't think so. But it probably has a chance. They have some effects, but not too much.
I think it squeaks in at like 5. Well, actually, I don't even know if they usually do 5. So I hope for Jim's sake that he gets his best VFX nom. Nothing else though, please. Also want to give this.
I think this movie will probably win best cinematography too. I bet it'll win both.
It's not gonna win.
I bet it will. How much will that?
Okay. I'll
I'll
take the $20 that I get when The Women King doesn't get nominated for anything, and I'll double that, and you can give me 40 when Avatar doesn't win best cinematography. Deal?
Okay, you're just gonna owe me $40 now. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to also give this movie the award. I'd like to give James Cameron the award for worst dad, because he's Jake Sully, and Jake Sully's a bad dad, so they both get the worst dad award.
The 2 for 1. James Cameron, Jake Sully.
Wow.
I like that.
That's pretty good. Gordon, building off yours, I wanted to give this award the Last Jedi Memorial Award for the most consecutive minutes in a movie where nothing happens. So like the middle hour and a half, just huge, same vibe. Nothing really happens. They're just sitting on the ship. Nothing really happens. They're just sitting on the island.
That's a great award. Just for
Thanks,
bashing The Last Jedi, that might be the best Academy Award that's ever handed out. So props there. Mara the One. I think this is probably the worst James Cameron sequel with an asterisk next to it. He has done sequels very well in the past. Terminator 2, which is a hell of a film. Go check out our pod on that one. And also Aliens, which is a phenomenal action, like turning away a little bit from horror, which is awesome. But one of his first movies actually was Piranha 2. I don't know if you guys are aware of that film. It is pretty bad, but I'm going to rank Avatar 2 below it still.
T2, we've obviously talked about on the pod. James Cameron coming up with 3 pod episodes, sneaky into that top list up there. But for me, I would definitely say this is easily the worst one because I don't like this movie that much. So, but interesting. Terminator 2, he kind of turns those characters on their head a little bit. You see Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's the villain in the first movie, kind of be the hero in the second one. Will we ever get a Quaritch turn like that, do you think, later?
I think we could get Spider turn maybe, but I don't know if we'll get a Quaritch.
It's not really
I feel like I think I could definitely see that. I think that's kind of maybe that's why they saved him. Like he should have died. And the fact that Spider went back and saved him, and the fact that he like caught on pretty quickly with the Navi people when Spider was like training them how to like be Navi, that would not surprise me at all.
Yeah. Avatar 5, Spider versus, the 7 tribes that we've met. That guy's leading the charge against them. All dreads and all. It's happening.
Let's move over to Invite Fight Night.
I dub thee Sir William.
All right, inviting on the pod. I'll go first, and I think the obvious choice, in the last episode, I picked Awe, and she doesn't, make as many appearances in this flick. More Sigourney Weaver than anything, which I don't appreciate. But I'm gonna go with a creature of sorts, another being, and that's Payakan the Tukun, the one with the broken fin. Clearly has some good stories to tell. Want to hear all about this battle? Yes, the whale, Kody. the coolest part of this movie, the whales. Yeah, I think there's a good story there. I'm curious to hear about their exile and their decision to kill, and what their feelings on that are, and do they regret those decisions? I mean, clearly not, as they feel that it's best to fight for the ones you love than die, like you said, be smarter than you. I'm just gonna let you kill me.
Yeah. No, that guy's got a great story too. I didn't even think about him, so that's a great pick. And also, you could have like the cool whale translation as well. That'd be a fun episode. My pick, funny enough, I'm gonna pick Spider. I think he probably has the best story to tell here. He kind of knows both sides. I mean, he's in with the Sully family, and also he spent a bunch of time with Stephen Lang as well. So he kind of knows everything that was going on in the story. He kind of has the most insight out of anybody in this movie. So I feel like he'd have tons of awesome stories about him growing up. He could talk about, what his decision was with the dreads too. That would finally come out. But
that's really why you want to talk to him.
That's the first question I'm
trying to
asking.
get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, Spider. Why not? I think it'd be a good guy to have on.
I want to make sure I pronounce this. Tonowari, the leader of the Water the Cliff Curse's character. I thought kind of similar to what we talked about with Tiri, where it kind of just stepped back. Like he was pretty prevalent at the beginning, but then kind of didn't get a whole lot of him in the second half of the movie. And I feel like just like their whole history and everything kind of just didn't get touched on as much as I would have liked. So
yeah, would you say you want to know more about the way of water?
I mean, the water does connect everything.
That's what
if you didn't know that.
Let's move on to a fight here. I gotta go Jake Sully for just some terrible decision making. Obviously he's trying to do what's best for his family, but as we discussed earlier, just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, screwing over a lot of other people in the process. So yeah, I definitely think Jake Sully, he needs some sense knocked into him. Obviously I would probably lose because he's basically Jesus, and then also the scientist that we have previously talked about being bad. He's also just like a nothing character that like one half of a scene. Like this movie's already 3 hours and 12 minutes. You can't give me the like half a scene where he gets some sort of redemption, or even like or maybe even not redemption. Like maybe you see him die painfully. I don't know. Just like needs to be something more to resolve that. So those are my 2-for-1 fight.
Yep. I back both of those. And as I foreshadowed earlier, Jake Sully is also my pick for this. Mostly for his decision to just ditch his clan. In my notes, I did call him a pussy, so I'll throw that into like, what are you doing, bro? You're literally the leader of this entire clan. All of a sudden, you kind of like forced yourself in that role as well. Mating with Neytiri in the first one, which probably shouldn't have done that either. But then you're just gonna say, screw it. He's a changed man. He's a changed family man. I don't buy it. I think he's just scared and he wanted to run away. So also, I don't think, did anybody really get a good lick on this guy? Like he's got a super punchful face, Sam Worthington and mocap. And I don't know if anybody even landed one on him. So I'd like to be the first to do that too.
He was Turuk Makto, dude. He was the rider of the shadow. He got the big banshee. Dude's a badass, apparently.
Where's the big
also a scaredy cat.
The big banshee should have came back at the end. I think.
I imagine it died. I don't know. Like maybe they have a short life. Otherwise, why is it not around? That is a good question. Who do you want to fight, Aiden?
I with the same one as you, Corbin. Just that doctor, this researcher that we talked about, for the same reasons, right? Like you had touched on, makes sense. You gotta do what you gotta do in that line of work, but have some like balls, I guess. Stand up for what you're believing in. I guess do something, or just don't speak in the movie. Those are your options.
Yeah, have some
I also think-
morality, or just like have zero morality. Don't be so wishy-washy about it.
He's probably also the only one I could take in a fight, considering all of these people are like 11
10
foot
feet
tall.
tall.
Yeah.
You're smart to pick a human. Yeah, that's a good point. We're all screwed. Me and Corbin are both dying trying to just get a punch on Jake Sully. So probably smart.
And then finally, I would like to knight Payakan the whale as well, because like you said, it's the ex machina. It's really the savior of the movie. Without the whale hopping up aboard and kind of just flopping about, they really would have probably lost, if we're being honest. So definitely deserving of all the praise. And especially considering, in their religion and their morals, it's bad to kill. Obviously, this creature had already broken that, but it was probably hard again to make that decision and make that sacrifice and to continue to, go against what's in its nature.
Yeah, that's a big act for him. And also him deflecting the harpoon. Absolutely sick. Like
Badass.
this guy's a baller. So I back it. I'm gonna knight Kate Winslet's character. Do you know the character name off the top of your head, Corbin? Because I can't pronounce it.
No.
Well, she's getting.
Ronile?
Yeah, I think that's it. Anywho, I think she's a complete badass. And the specific thing I want to knight her for, I mean, she's like what, 7-8 months pregnant, and she's going out to fight. Even her husband is like, is this smart? Like, you got a baby almost here. She's like, I don't care. I'm going regardless. Like they're coming after the whales. They're coming after me. So I want to knight her. I think she is by far the most badass character in this movie.
Kind of a contrast to how Jake Sully acted.
Yeah, exactly.
The one I'm gonna knight Natiri, just because, like we talked about earlier, like what happened? Like you need a friend. I'm worried about you. Like you just kind of dropped off. I don't think it's necessarily Zoe Saldana's fault, but just wasn't as featured as in the first one.
I would say we picked like the 3 people that don't suck in this movie, which is which is good. I mean, yeah. Let's move over to the recast.
Bond. James Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
So there's one person that really stands out in the first act of this movie, and it's Edie Falco of The Sopranos fame, I guess primarily is what I would know her from. She plays the general that's just like there on Earth, just kind of a weird role, weird casting. I saw an interview that she did where she said that she shot this like 4 or 5 years ago and just assumed it came out.
She had no idea that it
never, because she never heard anything about it. And she was just like, I assumed it came out and it did really bad. And apparently now it is coming out. And yeah, I think she needs to be recast is my main first point. I think the obvious choice, and it's probably too on the nose for modern audience, would be like a Viola Davis kind of doing her like DC Suicide Squad thing. I think that makes sense. And then, I guess if we want to steal somebody from Star Wars, I think Laura Dern, Last Jedi, turn that up a notch. She could be a good person in this role, but it's a hard role to cast for sure. But Edie Falco, I just don't get it. It's just kind of shocking for me.
Yeah. Is Laura Dern gonna have purple hair, or are we leaving that in The Last Jedi?
No, she will not have purple hair, Cody.
Sad. Aiden, give me your recast.
All right, so I had 2. They're both probably not. You guys probably won't love them. The first one, I have Spider getting recasted. I think Spider either needs to be, like we've been kind of touching around the subject. Spider either needs to be like African American, or he needs to be. The one I wrote down was Taylor Lautner from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. So if we could just go back and grab him
That's
from
a great pick.
Shark, like Time Machine, put him in. I just think fits that fearsome, like run around acting like a savage kind of character. But as far as like the potential blackface and the dreads, maybe not a white character with dreadlocks. And yeah,
That's awesome.
Taylor Lautner, that's brilliant.
Clip that. Put that on TikTok.
Inspired stuff, and sad we'll never get to see it. You know, Taylor Lautner, I think, is like married to somebody whose name is Taylor Lautner.
Well, I think he's dating Taylor Swift, and if they got married, then they both would have been named.
No, I'm pretty sure his fiance's name is Taylor. Yeah, so, his spouse is Taylor Dome, so now she's Taylor Lautner, if she took her name.
So they're both Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, my recast, in hindsight,
put that on TikTok.
Yeah, that's pretty good too, actually. That's an entire clip right there. It's a good one. This is probably a little insensitive in hindsight, but my main point in this is we need bigger name recognition to get more money for the environment, James Cameron. There are not enough Hollywood actors in this movie, and specifically in their family.
I know somebody who likes the environment, Kody.
Who's that?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, that's true. I mean, he mentioned it in his Oscar speech, and hey, maybe he could be like the next big bad for the next 5 movies. I'd 100% be down for that. He likes working with Jimmy as well. So let's start that petition right away. But anyways, I just want the kids recast, basically, mostly because I don't like Sigourney Weaver in that role, and mostly because I just want more actors to make fun of. So these are my rough casts. The brothers, I wanted Timmy Chalamet and Tom Holland. And then the sisters, I wanted Haley Steinfeld for the older one, and then the younger one, Daphne Keane, the girl from Logan. I think all phenomenal actors and actresses there. Obviously, Haley Steinfeld, not the best in Ender's Game, but she's really come around. So yeah, just give me more big brand actors, honestly.
So you want them to be played like by 28-year-olds?
Well, it's better than a 40-year-old, so why not?
I mean, that's fair in the Sigourney case, but otherwise, like the rest of them are all kids.
Yeah, but Tom Holland, he's playing like an 18-year-old in the MCU, and everybody buys it. What's the big deal?
Yeah, fair enough. Terrible picks, Kody.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I like Taylor Lautner. I'll throw Taylor Lautner in mine too. So I'll just take that one in.
This isn't really a recast, but it's we've talked a lot. We made jokes about James Cameron, but like I really wish he would make another movie that wasn't Avatar, right? Like, let's recast him into a different franchise. Seeing the stuff he did with the spaceship makes me, yes, it'd be cool to see him do a Star Wars movie, but beyond that, like, do another Terminator movie, do another Alien movie, like something more sci-fi, like go back to those roots if you're going to stay in like the franchise world. Otherwise, you could create your own original story that's pure space, something more, kind of Interstellar-esque. Like, I think that stuff is cooler in visual style, and to me, obviously, he's just not really as interested in that. So
yeah, I'd be down for him to do like an Interstellar sequel or something like that. That'd be interesting.
Also, Predator on Pandora crossover. There's a pitch for you.
That let's just merge those two franchises, Predator and Avatar. I'm here for that 100%.
Any other recasts?
That's it.
Well, sadly, we've reached the end of the road, and it's time for our rating.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
Out of 69. Kody, you like it better than the first one, so I'm sure it's going to be higher. What do you want to give this Avatar 2? You gave 53 to the first Avatar.
You're taking the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, so first one I gave 53 out of 69. Pretty respectable score, I feel like, for Avatar. Probably could have been a little bit lower. So for this one, I'm just going to go 1 point higher. 54 out of 69. Keeping the bar, pretty similar. I'm sure we'll do Avatar 3 when it comes out, and maybe I'll get a 55, maybe I'll get a 52, but it's going to be in this general range, I would guess. But yeah, 54 out of 69 for me.
For me, I like this one a little bit less. I was at a 47. I'm going to drop it down to a 44.
Ooh.
I think this movie is snugly fit between the great Nicolas Cage film, National Treasure, and the not so great Andrew Garfield film, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So it's snugly in between those two movies.
I like both those movies. So.
Well, one's better than the other. And
Hey,
Avatar's right in the middle.
9 out of 69 or what? What's your rating, bud?
44.
So I had I have 2 ratings. I have 1. If you're seeing it in 3D in IMAX in theaters, I'm gonna give it a 55. But if you're watching on your couch at home, I'm gonna give it a 50.
What
I'm
about
kind of in Cody's boat where it is what it is. Avatar, the franchise, I think especially after this one, I think they're all gonna be pretty similar. I don't think they're gonna be bad. They're gonna be fun to watch, especially in theaters. They're gonna be fun to talk about, but they're not incredible. I'm not as attached to this movie as I was Interstellar. And thankfully, you guys did not ruin one of my favorite movies, like in the last episode.
what would you rate it on unnamed bootleg website?
Uh,
On your laptop, yeah.
17.
Oh wow, big drop.
17. The audio was the worst part. The sound effects were so much louder than the dialogue, and you really just couldn't really make out what they were saying.
Just like Interstellar, yeah.
They mixed the bootleg wrong. That's tough. I guess we can use this as a chance. Is there anything you guys want to see in a sequel or any expectations for these future movies? Because the thing is, like, we are gonna get this one. Like, we're gonna get Avatar 3, and it's probably gonna be in the next 2 years. So, now that we know what's gonna happen, what do you want to happen? What do you hope to see?
I want to see spiders single-handedly take on the fire people. I want to see him jump, like dive directly.
So you want him to be bad?
Yeah, 100%. I want him to like swan dive into a volcano and just fight all of the fire people underwater in lava. That's what I want to see.
All right. Well, that's a lot to live up to, Aidan.
I was thinking about this. So James Cameron had said that he is. I don't know. Is that confirmed that he's doing the fire people, or was that just like
he mentioned that there was like a fire-based tribe, like.
So if we're speculating that there's a fire-based tribe that are maybe like the bad side of naive people, I'd love to see Miles maybe like team up with them, like because you could see him start to get more acclimated to the culture of actually being a Navi person, and maybe the end of this, he's kind of done fighting the humans battles, and he goes off and tries to do his own thing with the fire people, and then he still gets to fight Jake Sully, so it'll still work out.
That's actually pretty good. Get this guy in the writer's room. My God, James Cameron paid big bucks for that story.
There's been some rumors and speculation that like the 4th or 5th movie will like make a return to Earth or some shit. I do not want to see that. I don't think that needs to happen in this film series. Again, if James Cameron wants to do that and make that movie, make a different movie. Let's keep Avatar on Pandora. But otherwise, fire people, sure, whatever. Air people, yeah, whatever. Why not? But I want some mud people. Some swamp people. That's what I want to see. Like riding gators and shit.
Interesting.
Like earthbending, one might say.
If Toph's there,
one could say it. Yeah, maybe like a blind character that's like a little girl.
Badass little girl. So he's talking shit. That'd be cool.
Great ideas all around. Let's throw it over to defeat the watch list.
Watch me.
So all the way back in our last Avatar episode, I was tasked with watching the movie Heat, which is also 2 hours and 50 minutes. So not a short one by any means either. I did enjoy it. I don't know. I'm still kind of mulling it over. I don't know how to. Cody, have you checked this one out before?
Oh yeah, Heat classic. De Niro versus Pacino.
I think that's Pacino. The biggest surprise for me was seeing him in that like cop role.
Yeah, it's reverse roles almost.
Yeah, that was interesting to me. I think that was probably the coolest part for me.
I really like what's the other guy's name? The blonde guy.
Val Kilmer?
Yeah, Val Kilmer. I like his role a lot too. And the way he goes out, I think
great hair.
A lot of fun. Yeah. That movie, the third act, I think, is just super intense, and I'm a big fan. Michael Mann class.
It's got a solid opening too, kind of sets everything up. Yeah. I don't think I've really seen very many Michael Mann movies.
I don't know. I don't know if I can name another, if I'm being honest. I think it's mostly just like action stuff. But
yeah. Public Enemies, Miami Vice, Collateral, Ollie, The Insider, Last of the Mohicans.
I haven't seen most of those.
I haven't seen any of them. So
He's
yeah.
Them.
But Michael Mann's Ferrari coming out this year with Adam Driver. So there you go.
Yeah, he's playing like an Italian hitman or something, right? That looks pretty cool.
I think he's playing Ferrari. I think Adam Driver is playing Enzo Ferrari.
Who's that? The hitman?
No, he's
the founder of. Okay, so yeah, with Defeat the Watchlist, Aidan, you now get to pick the next movie for me to watch. If you just have a movie, you can give it to me. Otherwise, you can pick a year, a genre. We can shuffle. We can do a lot of things. How do you want to do this?
Corbin, did you watch The Menu?
I have seen The Menu. Yes.
You have.
Good movie.
Good flick.
Okay.
Still want
Then,
that.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll give you a year. How's that?
All right, let's do it. This
I
is the
want
most
something
fun.
like mid 2000s. I'll give you like 2006.
2006.
Good year.
There are 6 movies on here. I could read all 6, or we could narrow it down further, or we could shuffle. What do you want to do?
Give me the 6.
All right. So funny enough, Miami Vice, Michael Mann, 2006. Also Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro, recent addition to the pod. The Holiday with Jack Black, little Christmas movie. Volver, which I do believe is a Penelope Cruz movie. I think it's in Spanish. Marie Antoinette, which has the original Mary Jane, Kirsten Dunst in it. The Lives of Others, which appears to be a film in another language, and I don't really know much about it. And then Casino Royale is the last one. So those are your choices.
Go with the Jack Black movie.
The Holiday.
Absolutely.
It's also got Cameron Diaz, Kate Winslet as well. So it's fitting. And Jude Law. And Mina will love watching it with me.
The cast, actually.
There you go. So we'll report back about The Holiday in our next episode. All right. Now over to We Have a Podgorithm. With the updated movies. Yeah, Kody, very enthused today. Gonna draw a card, and we're gonna have to talk about the movie, and we'll see if it's one Aidan's seen or not. Yeah, okay. So A Quiet Place. Aidan, you've seen it. Tell us about it. 30 seconds. What's your take?
Oh God, A Quiet Place. I hope I'm remembering this movie correctly, but if I'm right, that's the movie where they can't speak for the entire time, and it's Jim from The Office, right?
Yeah.
John Krasinski.
Yeah,
Jim and his real wife.
And that's also is that where she like has birth while this is going on?
She does have a baby.
Yeah, that is about the extent of what I remember of this.
Then
I remember
steps
thinking
on a
to
nail.
myself,
oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah, okay.
I had to bring that back in my brain, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, but she gives birth without making a peep. So don't think that's possible. But good on her.
Shout out Emily Blunt.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Emily Blunt in a farmhouse. That and Looper. That's a dream. Kody, what do you think?
Yeah, Quiet Place. I think last time we were talking about this movie, I said that I saw it in theaters with you, which is a complete lie. I don't know.
Came out in like 2018. I think after the fact, I was like, Kody, what are you talking about?
Well, that's funny. But yeah, I do like this movie a lot. Super good tension. I like the character design of the weirder aliens too. And I think it's maybe John Krasinski's directorial debut. Might have to fact check that. But him and Emily Blunt, obviously pretty good chemistry. I wonder where that came from. But yeah, there's a lot of just intense scenes. Her giving birth in a bathtub, and the nail. Yeah, I don't know why you'd bring that up, but I remember that vividly now. But yeah, that's about it.
I think there's some really good child performances in this movie.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you their names, but we'll look right here. But no, they're both really good. Obviously, the one girl is actually, hearing impaired. It's cool to kind of integrate the sign language into the actual movie itself. Those actors are obviously Noah Jupe and Millicent Simmons. Yeah, Noah Jupe. He's a classic. He's an icon of other films. Kody, what else is Noah Jupe in? Go.
Also, I want to bring up John Krasinski's yell at the end is iconic. Where he's like,
okay, what else is Noah Jupe in, Kody?
Who's Noah Jupe in? I don't know.
Honey Boy, Ford versus Ferrari, Wonder, child actor star.
Ford versus Ferrari, I heard it's good. I still haven't seen it.
That I feel like we did see in theaters together, Kody. And on that note, let's move on past A Quiet Place.
We did not see that in theaters together. What are you talking about?
All right, Rex. Maybe I saw it with Junia.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Aidan, what have you been into recently? What do you want to recommend to the people?
All right, so my recommendation, I'm sure if you've watched any kind of media over the last month, you've seen a preview for this, but The Last of Us on HBO. It's a television series. First episode just came out this last Sunday, and it's based on a video game. It's like one of my favorite video games of all time, especially story wise. And I'm really excited for it. I kind of had iffy expectations, especially with the casting, but I love it. The first episode was awesome, and I think it's gonna be good.
I was gonna check it out last night, but I clicked on the episode and it said an hour and a half. I was like, nah.
It's long.
Yeah, but it looks like a really good series. Pedro Pascal, pretty good pick, I think, for the leading man, but definitely one I'm going to check out. It's a good rec. To transition into mine, I don't have a ton. I also watched Amsterdam last week, which I would not particularly recommend. Corbin, you have to chime in here, but I don't know, something just feels off about this movie. Kind of like the dialogue. It feels like it's written well. Like on paper, it probably looks really good, but in the movie,
It's like shot bad. It's poorly made.
I was gonna say too, the editing, it just feels off. I don't understand. Like
there's a lot of ADR. Like they film the dialogue in post. That's what it is.
There's just something about like every scene in the movie. I'm like, I just don't like this. But also the acting's bad and the story's whatever. So David O. Russell can hike it out of Hollywood anytime he wants. And then my other big shout out. Have you guys seen the show The Rehearsal?
Yes.
What's the guy's name? I can't remember.
Nathan Fielder.
Yeah, Nathan Fielder. I've also started watching Nathan For You, which is not as good as The Rehearsal. But The Rehearsal, it's kind of like Inception, but for comedy, which doesn't make any
in real
sense.
life.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, really weird. There's so many layers. The pilot episode I really love. That honestly, that might be one of my favorite episodes of TV I've ever seen. As it goes along, it gets stranger and stranger. The last couple are kind of like really thought provoking. Like, wow, they really they kind of fucked up while making the show, and that's kind of what it's about. So kind of sad at the end, which is weird for Nathan Fielder, but I would recommend The Rehearsal. I think it's really good on HBO Max.
What else have you been into, Kody?
That's pretty much it. I was gonna give a Rough Cut retrospective shout out. We just did an awesome pod with them, doing a big time, kind of fantasy football movie draft for the year. And that episode will be coming out shortly, so definitely check them out. And also Star Wars Rogue One. I watched that the other day for the first time in forever, and it might be like low key one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I think the visuals are fucking awesome in that movie, and kind of something we haven't really seen since. And the direction's surprisingly good. I think Gareth Edwards directed it, didn't he? Or is that something else? I don't know, but that's the best Gareth.
It was kind of taken away from him a little bit by the studio, but yeah, it was directed by Gareth Edwards.
Of all time, not even a question. And I just want to shout that out. But yeah, that's all my recs.
A little sneak preview of that fantasy draft. I did take Gareth Edwards' next movie, True Love. So
it's probably gonna be like a fan Forstic. So it's a good pick.
He did the first Godzilla, Rogue One. He's an okay director.
Godzilla sucks. Sorry.
Some people think it's the best. I wouldn't be one of those people. But Kody, you've seen the trailer for A Man Called Otto, right?
I have, yeah.
So what do you imagine the tone of this movie to be?
Yeah, I saw your letterbox. From the trailers, it looks like a kooky Tom Cruise comedy. That's what I assumed it was.
It has its moments, but it also has its low moments that I would
Nobody's gonna watch this movie, just tell us.
Best described as Tom Cruise trying to commit suicide over and over throughout the film, particularly I think 4 different times. First he hangs himself, then he tries to pull a Midsummer and go for the old car in the garage, turn it on, leave it running, hose to your mouth.
There's so many ways people died in that movie. I don't know what you're going for.
He jumps on a train track. Oh. That's a classic. It's pretty rough stuff. And it's kind of just a sad movie for the most part. It's very emotional. It has its laughs. It's a little Gran Torino-esque at moments, but yeah, I don't know, just poorly marketed film. Familiar with this feature at all, Aidan? Do you know A Man Called Otto?
I saw the trailer. Have not seen it. Seemed like an interesting role for Tom Hanks. that kind of turned me off, but I mean, willing to give it a shot, right?
Guys with Dead Wives. That's what that movie is.
It looked really bad regardless, but yeah, they marketed it a lot lighter than it seems the tone.
It's definitely better than it seems. Also, just a shout out to a couple 80s movies that our man JD drafted in the 80s movie draft, both When Harry Met Sally and Raising Arizona. I got to see both of those in theaters Sunday and Monday. And Raising Arizona, Coen Brothers film. Well, I guess it's singular Coen film, but they both worked on it. But it's got Nick Cage and Holly Hunter as the two leads, and then John Goodwin in a fun supporting performance. Definitely an underrated movie. I feel like definitely would recommend checking that one out.
Yep, I back it. I like that movie a lot.
Yeah. But otherwise, also watch The Last of Us. I haven't seen the first episode, but I agree. I like the video game a lot as someone who really hasn't played a lot of video games. I definitely enjoy that one. And yeah, check out that RCR episode next week or today.
100%. Heck yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, just want to thank Aidan again for coming on. We really did a handful bashing in your last movie. So yeah, I appreciate you coming back on, man. Hope you had fun.
Go check out Aidan's writing, his sports betting advice.
True.
Just don't follow the advice. Yeah. Clutchpoints.com/Aidan Cotter. I'll pop right up. And you can just fade me. That's all my friends do. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Let's see, this is season 4. I came on in season 2, so I'll probably be back in season 6. Give me another 2 years or so.
We'll be expecting you.
Aidan, thanks again a lot for coming on. It was a pleasure to speak with you. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Stay capping.
Peace.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up!